Hello everyone, welcome back to the Web3 channel. My name is Zach and we're about to have a look at El Salvador creating a Bitcoin city using $500 million of a planned $1 billion bond offering to buy more crypto. Let's jump into this video from, I believe it is CoinDesk.
El Salvador. They're creating a Bitcoin city. Let's dive into the details of this. So apparently they're going to build an entire city based on the largest cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin. And it's going to be a fully fledged metropolis. It's going to have residential, commercial areas, restaurants, an airport, port and rail service. It's going to be laid out in a circle like a coin. Like they're going all in here. And it's going to be like this plaza that will host a huge Bitcoin symbol. And it will have no income, property, capital gains, or payroll taxes. I'm a big fan of that part of their plan. And apparently they're going to be funding it with some really weird methods, which we can break apart in a second. But one thing to mention is it's going to be right next to this volcano, which is basically going to be providing the geothermal energy to power the entire city, which again is kind of interesting. So it's like on the one hand, very interesting situation. Then we dive into how they're funding it, which is interesting. But I want to throw to the group for your take to start off with. Jen, what's your take, like just a broad view on all of this?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. I was reading this and I just pictured this like futuristic metropolis. And I can't believe, I mean, it's weird to say in November that I still can't believe that El Salvador is moving so quickly. And right when I think that they've done everything they possibly could do with their announcement of Bitcoin as legal tender, they go and they do something like say they're going to be building an entire city in 2022. I wonder how the Salvadorian people will feel about this if and when we hit a bear market. I think this is all very exciting, and we talk about Bitcoin in El Salvador and how it's going to bring financial freedom to the people. And I just wonder if they really understand the volatility and if enough is being done by the government to educate them on that. I think that the basing the city by the volcano for I want to pass this off to Will to explain how we're going to use this renewable energy for mining. But I think it's really interesting, and I think a lot of other developing nations could take a note from this. I think Bitcoin mining has the opportunity to bring energy to people who previously didn't have access to energy, and that's really cool. But Will, I'm gonna let you take it away from here because I don't have anything else to say about mining, and you have a lot of insight.
Yeah, before I get to the mining comment, I just want to highlight what you said. The bear market aspect it's like frightening. It's frightening to think of what could happen if there is like a 90 to 70% drawdown like we've seen historically across the crypto space, but also specifically with Bitcoin, since they seem to be so focused on only Bitcoin or this Bitcoin city. The like repercussions from that would be really extreme. I'm assuming like there's some smart people involved with this. Like the Blockstream team is very capable, and they've been doing this for years now. They've been through multiple bear markets, so I think they know what they're doing. But I think it'd also be a huge PR nightmare for the Bukele regime to have like a huge drawdown and put so much time and money into this Bitcoin thing and to see that happen. And there's already been a lot of frustration with the Bukele regime around how Bitcoin is being used on the ground there and why there is adoption of Bitcoin when there's so many other pressing needs at the moment. So just to highlight what you said, like I think that's a very valid take. The Bitcoin mining side, I think it's pretty simple. Geothermal energy is necessarily renewable just because it comes from the Earth's crust, and you can just capture it to spin a turbine, and then you just plug in Bitcoin miners to it. For the city itself, it's interesting. I know there's a lot of the renewable geothermal energy in the like Central American region of the world, and so it makes sense for them just to do that. Makes sense for them just to plug in Bitcoin miners, maybe make some money there on the side. The thing that I'm very curious about is how they're like centrally planning a city here, and that's always just kind of, it's not very Bitcoiny, but they're doing it, and I guess like they're raising money to do it, so it's not like they're taking.
Real quick, I acknowledge that my face cam is over his face cam. Why is he not here? What happened to production? Like it's good, it's well edited, like the general stuff is good, but he should be here by now, shouldn't he? Just saying.
Taking money out of the pockets of taxes or whatnot.
Let's dive into how they're raising money. And let's dive into the details of that. So it is a $1 billion tokenized bond. It will, sorry, $1 billion in tokenized bonds. It will be over 10 years. It will be US dollar denominated. We'll pay 6.5% initially. And following the lockup period of 5 years, El Salvador will start to sell its cryptocurrency holdings and pay an added dividend to bond holders. By the time that 10 years have elapsed, the annual percentage yield will be 146%, said Samson Mao, based on Blockstream's model that the price of Bitcoin will be at $1 million in 10 years, or in the next 5 years, sorry, 5 years, $1 million. That's the projection they're coming out with. And indeed, they will be using $500 million of these proceeds to buy Bitcoin, locking it up for 5 years. So what is actually going on here? Because there's a lot of technical sounding jargon. Basically, you would lend Bukele money so that he can go and trade Bitcoin, but he's only going to trade half of it and he's going to pay you back, and it's backed by the full faith of the El Salvadorian government that you would be giving them money and trusting them with your money and getting paid back with amazing yields based on a $1 million price prediction for Bitcoin. I don't see anything wrong with this plan at all.
Good.
So,
Me neither, Naomi. I mean, when you put it like that, it makes sense.
Let's dig into this. He's literally they're presuming that Bitcoin is going to go up an astronomical amount, right? And they're saying, but trust us with your money, a government, dictatorship, by the way, that has seized control and kicked out all opponents and put our own people in place. Let's trust us with your money instead of investing that money straight in Bitcoin. I mean, I don't know who is going to go for this. I would scratch my head if they are going to go for this. This seems like a very high risk proposition because you're also relying on the high risk proposition of, Bitcoin future price predictions. But on top of that, you add having to trust the El Salvadorian government on top of that. It's definitely not something that I will be buying into. Not investment advice. Do your own research, but it does seem strange to me. Will, what's your take on their money raising adventure?
You laid it out pretty clearly there. I think another interesting point I saw online, of course, was that we have Bitcoiners like lending to a government, and that is like the antithesis of Bitcoin, right? So like we're giving money to a regime which does have a track record of not protecting human rights, and we're allowing them to build Bitcoin cities and things like that cater to a very specific audience. And there's a lot of people in El Salvador who I don't think are going to look at this extremely favorably. So I have a lot of questions. It just seems like there's seems like the bad way to roll this all out. It doesn't seem great. It seems like the story is kind of compounding and getting a little bit worse. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it all works out. I mean, governments issue bonds all the time, and if the math makes sense and they can figure it out, that's good. But at the same time, El Salvador is kind of in a weird state. They have issues with the IMF and other central banks around the world who are not wanting to lend them money now because of this Bitcoin thing. It seems they're almost like compounding it, doubling down on that bet, almost like a leverage trader who's kind of sunken in too deep and trying to get a little bit farther ahead.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if like Elon Musk was like, hey, I'm putting out a bond for my future Mars colony and we're going to build a city, and it's not going to be run by government, but we'll have like code and decentralized autonomous organizations. Like I can see that potentially happening. I'd probably invest in that. It sounds a lot more interesting than a dictatorial regime that doesn't like any opposition and has with great threats, kicks people out in parliament, etc. So it's an interesting situation. Meanwhile, love what they've laid out in terms of the no tax and geothermal energy. I think that's super cool. Just be careful with your investments, people. So let's move over to the next topic. Jen, what's going on in the luxury world of NFTs?
Before we head on over to luxury and NFTs, I want to say I love that every opportunity we have to bring up Elon Musk, that we take it. I just really appreciate it,
Okay, so there we have it. The ups and downs of a Bitcoin city with El Salvador. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. This is the Web3 channel. I cover everything happening in the Web3 space. Take it easy, everyone. I'll see you in a bit.